He didn't have much, just $15 and a heart full of hope. On a cold morning in Georgia, a young black boy stopped to help a man everyone else avoided, a biker with scars, tattoos, and a past no one dared question. What he didn't know was that a single act of kindness would ripple across miles, reaching a brotherhood of hundreds. Men society feared, but who never forgot loyalty. Days later, when roaring engines filled his street, he realized this wasn't charity, it was payback, and it would change his life forever. Darius was only 16, but life had aged him faster than most. He lived in a rundown neighborhood on the edge of Atlanta, a place where sirens sang louder than birds, and hope came and went with the seasons. Every morning he walked past broken fences and fading murals of dreams that never came true, clutching a backpack that carried more worry than books. NNHE worked part-time at a small grocery store, saving every dollar to help his mother keep the lights on. $15 was all he had left that week, barely enough for lunch, but enough to make him feel proud that he was helping, even in small ways. NNTHAT morning. The sky was gray, and the air smelled of rain. On the side of the road, he saw a man bent over a heavy motorcycle, oil dripping, curses muttered under breath. The man's leather vest bore a symbol Darius had only seen in movies, Hell's Angels. Most people would have walked faster. But Darius stopped, and something about the man, his frustration, his solitude, felt familiar. Against all reason, Darius offered his last $15 to help him buy gas. The man hesitated, staring at the boy's open hand. There was confusion, then disbelief, then something softer. Darius didn't think twice. To him, it was just kindness. But to the man, it was something else, something he hadn't seen in years. What Darius didn't know was that this simple act, in a forgotten corner of the city, was about to echo far beyond his small world. And soon, the rumble of engines would return, not in anger, but in gratitude. For a few days, life went on as usual. Darius returned to school, to work, to the quiet rhythm of survival. He didn't expect to see the biker again. That $15 was gone, but in his heart, it felt like a good trade, helping someone who needed it. NBUT. Not everyone saw it that way. When Darius told his coworkers what he'd done, they laughed. "You gave money to one of them? Boy, you're crazy. Those people don't help us." And even the store manager pulled him aside, warning, "You stay away from those men, you hear? Ain't no good comes from mixing with that crowd." NNTHE warning wasn't just about bikers. It was about race, about fear, the invisible wall that kept people like Darius on one side and the rest of the world on the other. Still, Darius brushed it off. He didn't help for thanks. He helped because he knew what it felt like to be unseen. 3 days later, the sound came first, low, steady, and growing louder. The walls shook, the windows rattled. The neighborhood kids ran to their porches as the roar of motorcycles filled the air. More than 50 riders turned down the narrow street, black leather, chrome gleaming, the emblem of skulls and wings flashing in the sunlight. People froze. Some ran inside. Others whispered, "Hell's Angels." Darius stood at his doorstep, frozen in disbelief. At the front of the pack was the same man he'd helped, the one with tired eyes and a scar down his jaw. He parked right in front of Darius' house, shut off the engine, and for a moment, silence fell. Then the man smiled. "You're Darius, right?" Neighbors peeked through curtains. Mothers pulled their kids back. A young black boy surrounded by white bikers. It looked wrong, dangerous, out of place. An NTHE man reached into his vest and pulled out an envelope. "You gave me your last $15, kid. You didn't have to. So my brothers wanted to return the favor." Inside the envelope was cash, hundreds of dollars. Darius stared at it, unable to breathe. I can't take this." NTHE biker grinned. "You already did your part. This ain't charity, it's respect." Just as the moment warmed his chest, the tension snapped. And steep police cruiser turned the corner, sirens flaring. Officers jumped out, hands on their holsters, shouting commands. "Step back, hands where I can see them." THE bikers froze, confused. Darius raised his hands instinctively. "It's okay. They're my friends. NBUT. His voice was drowned by the shouts. The officers didn't ask questions. They saw a young black boy surrounded by white bikers and drew their own conclusions. "Sir, please," one biker started, but the officer shoved him back. Another grabbed Darius by the arm, forcing him to the ground. His knees scraped the pavement, the envelope flying from his hand. NNTHE money scattered across the street like broken promises. NTHE engines roared again. Not in celebration, but in anger. One of the older bikers stepped forward, his voice shaking with rage. "You don't touch that kid. He's one of us." NBUT. The officers didn't listen. They never did. In that instant, the air filled with tension thicker than smoke. Darius looked up, tears burning his eyes, realizing something terrible. Sometimes, even kindness couldn't protect you from the color of your skin. And as the bikers stood their ground, the sirens echoed across the block, signaling that this story was far from over. Darius could feel the gravel digging into his knees, his palms pressed against the cold ground as an officer barked orders above him. The smell of burning engines mixed with the bitter scent of fear. Around him, the bikers stood motionless, leather jackets glinting under the flashing red and blue lights. "Don't move," an officer shouted, his hand resting on the trigger. "I didn't do anything." Darius cried, voice trembling. NNBUT, it didn't matter. His skin had already spoken louder than his words. Don, one of the bikers, an older man with a gray beard, stepped forward slowly, hands raised. "He's a good kid, officer." "Let him go. He's with us." NNTHE officer turned sharply, eyes burning. "Back off. All of you." In that moment, Darius realized the danger wasn't just for him. It was for anyone who tried to stand up for him. The air pulsed with tension. The engines idled like growling beasts waiting to strike. And then, something unexpected happened. NTHE biker who Darius had helped, Tommy, removed his helmet and walked forward. "You got this wrong, man," he said calmly. "He's not the threat. We are." NTHE officers froze, uncertain. One wrong move could ignite chaos. Tommy knelt beside Darius, ignoring the warnings. "You helped me when you didn't have to," he whispered. "Now it's our turn." NHE stood tall, turning toward the officers. "You arrest him, you arrest us all." Behind him, engines thundered as 50 bikers revved in unison, their defiance echoing through the neighborhood. NNFOR the first time, Darius saw something shift in the officers' faces, not fear, but hesitation. The sound of solidarity was louder than the sirens, and seconds felt like hours. The officers looked at each other, then slowly backed off, muttering into their radios. Tommy reached down, helping Darius to his feet. The boy's hands shook, his eyes wet, but he stood tall. Around them, the street was silent except for the soft rumble of engines. In that fragile moment, something broke, and something new was born. Because, for once, the world saw beyond color. NBUT. Darius didn't yet realize the true change was still coming. When the officers finally left, the street fell into an uneasy silence. The neighbors who had been watching began to step outside, eyes wide, still unsure of what they had just witnessed. The bikers, once seen as dangerous, were now standing shoulder to shoulder with a young black boy, protecting him from a world that had judged him before he ever spoke a word. Tommy turned to Darius and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Your family now," he said softly. Then he motioned toward the envelope still lying in the dust. One of the bikers picked it up and pressed it into Darius's hands. Inside wasn't just money. There was a note. 3 words, written in rough pen strokes. "We see you, NNFOR." A long moment. Darius couldn't speak. The fear, the humiliation, the confusion, they all mixed with something else he hadn't felt in years. Belonging. In that moment, he realized that kindness had a power stronger than hate. It could bridge worlds that history had tried to keep apart. NNTHE next day, word spread across the neighborhood. People talked about how the Hells Angels rode in not for trouble, but for a boy who had shown them humanity. Reporters came, so did community leaders. But for Darius, none of that mattered. What mattered was that, for once, people saw the truth, not the color of his skin, but the content of his heart. Still, the memory of those flashing lights never left him. He would go on to tell his story in schools, community centers, and online, reminding others that racism isn't just about hate. It's about fear, ignorance, and silence. And every time he spoke, he ended with the same question. If a 16-year-old boy can look past judgment and show kindness, why can't we? Because in a world that often feels divided, sometimes it takes a simple act, $15 and a little courage, to remind us that we're all still capable of seeing each other.